Hey guys, this is Mortgage Martin. Today I have Ryan Smith, who is an agent with Tahoe Investment Properties. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Martin. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, love having you. Ryan is located in South Lake Tahoe. Amazing place right now. I think they just got their first snow, and it looks really awesome out there. Should bring in a lot of skiers, which would be great for the local economy. But let's start off with our first question. Ryan, how did you get into this business, and why South Lake Tahoe?
Good question. My journey, I never grew up wanting to be a realtor, or to be honest, even through college, I didn't have a ton of interest in real estate. My interest started peaking in real estate when I noticed it was a common denominator of everybody who has wealth has real estate in some
Yeah.
sort. So financial freedom was my biggest driver. It always has been, and creating systems that provide residual income. There's many ways to do it, and real estate seemed to be one of the best ones. So my curiosity began there. And again, I never thought I was going to become an agent. At the time, I was working a few jobs up here in South Lake Tahoe, still working on my degree. It's kind of the classic thing up here. You normally have more than one. And one of those jobs was actually as a universal banker with US Bank.
Nice.
And that allowed me to be a teller, but also I had some hands-on business clientele relationships and business account opening. I met my broker now, David Vogt, at the bank, and we sort of became friends. He was with Sotheby's at the time, and we just stayed close, and he'd come in the bank here and there. And as he started sharing his ideas of opening up his new brokerage, the entrepreneur in me and the hustle started popping out. And
Yeah.
even though I'm at the bank, hey, I could help build a website for you as I'm learning Squarespace and things like that. This is back in maybe 2015.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I built him a landing page, and we sort of stayed close. And he was doing his thing. I was focused on school. And as I left Tahoe to finish my degree in Monterey, we stayed in touch. He came and visited. We, always chatted, and
Yeah.
his business very quickly took off as he started focusing on the multifamily and the investment properties in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And it was cool to watch. I was interested in it. And when I graduated college, he offered me a pretty sweet deal to come up, learn from him, work for him, and sort of share in his profits as I learn and get licensed. I
Nice.
turned him down.
Oh no.
I had had a career track. I had had a career track with Apple at the time. So I was working in the Apple store and shot through all the bases on the Apple store, and I was working with the business team. And
Yeah.
fresh out of college, real estate seemed like more of a risk than sticking with Apple. That only lasted about 9 months, as days and 40-hour weeks continued to just be 40-hour weeks, and my paychecks stayed the same. And no matter what I did, there's not really a way to grow out of it. So I kept getting curious, and because I had turned him down, there was a respect there, and I got my license on my own. And once I was licensed, I approached David again. I said, "Hey, I did this on my own terms. I want to come up, dive full in, and go after it." And that was July 2018 that I jumped in.
Nice.
So yeah, and we moved up. My girlfriend and I moved up to South Lake with no jobs, just a savings account. And we were originally going to stay on his bedroom or his living room floor for a while until we found a place. And everything just works out when you dive in and sort of trust that gut and walk through that door. So
Yeah.
here I am today. I've now had a great couple of years, and I worked very closely with a friend and mentor. So it's been a really cool journey to get here.
Yeah, I bet. Wow, that's you definitely dove all in, right? Leaving everything behind, going up with your
Yep,
girlfriend, and yeah, that's just so welcoming of him to offer his floor for you guys, right?
absolutely.
That shows that he definitely cares for you, and it seems like you guys have a really good business relationship, which is awesome.
Mm.
Great. Cool. How can you, as an agent in Tahoe, how can you help buyers or, investors that are looking for a place there in Tahoe? What makes you special as an agent up there?
A few things. I think every agent in town, all the good ones, have some sort of niche. There's a couple different property types in town. I mean, you have residential, you have luxury, you have vacation rentals, you have all sorts of things. I'm very attracted to the investment side of properties, and that is because I think I'm a little more numbers orientated. So I like to see return. I like to see that cash flow. It goes back to the original dream of why I even got into this business, to help myself and others build financial freedoms and systems and models that do so. As an agent for buyers in town, it has been a challenging couple of years. We've had a lot of cash coming in as work from home has flooded our basin. It's shot up housing prices. At the same time, we're having restrictions on where you can do short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Those permits are now being pulled. So there's all these ebbs and flows happening in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And to help position a buyer to be ready and to know those market conditions, I think it's one of the biggest offerings I can have.
Yeah.
Being on the board, I have a very close touch with what's happening on the political side of things.
Mhm.
And I really tailor my buyers' experience to what their goals are.
Yeah.
If they're looking for a short-term rental property, then my guidance can be not only in good areas, but offer other certain things, making sure that they can get a permit, helping with that process, connecting with the right people to help start that path. For an investor, it's really about what could the rental price be? What would the pro formas be? Running some of those models to help take a property as is and really turn it into something that is not only generating income, but is a really nice piece of property. We have a lot of older motel-esque multifamily properties out here. So there's not a ton you can do with the 12 square rooms on a strip. But having that insight, having seen it, having sold all sorts of different types, gives me quite a bit of ideas and leaves me very connected with not only builders, contractors, handymen, cleaners, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I tailor it to the buyer,
Yeah.
and the specific local insights really do make a difference. It can make a difference in all sorts of ways of how you write an offer,
Yeah.
how you analyze something, the margins within a pro forma and getting that tight down.
Yeah.
That can be the difference between staying positive or going under on a property. So
Yeah, very true. I think you touched on a lot of things that are very special to Tahoe. One being the permits. I know there's been a lot of change regarding short-term rental permits in the Tahoe area. You know, the restrictions around houses by the lake and close to the casinos there. And you know, being involved like you know, in the real estate area up there, you know, seems like you really know your stuff when it comes to, you know, what properties can rent for, which ones can be rented, what can they rent for, and all that kind of good stuff. So that's
yeah.
definitely a good skill set to have. That's awesome. On the flip side, how can you help sellers? How is the sellers market up there right now?
You know, that's an interesting question, and I'm gonna try to give you a little bit of an unorthodox answer here. Marketing is huge, and it's something that I'm focusing on, how to have a wider outreach. And it's changed so much as Zillow and these other companies, these third-party vendors, have now most of the data that's on the MLS and do a lot of the advertising for you. I think in some ways, some selling agents have gotten lazy in a way, and they list the properties and it's a hot enough market, so there's enough offers, and that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
My biggest focus is when I'm working with a potential seller are creating a very in-depth and detailed market analysis and CMA, really trying to find that range. I never say, hey, this is what we should sell your house for. My job is to educate, guide, and get to a parameter. So maybe it's between this number and this number, and it's based on this data. And it's also based on these insights. Creating that range, I think, instills confidence in sellers, and it also makes it happen. There's this fine balance between thinking that your property might be worth such and such and throwing it on there and it just sits, and finding that sweet spot, competitiveness, and drive that price up.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Yeah, you're totally right. Right now, this market, seems like agents just throw it on there, not do much marketing, right? You don't have to worry about it right now in this hot market. But soon things will change, and I think agents that are prepared like you, putting together the whole marketing package, the CMA, I think you guys will be prepared for the next market shift when that happens.
Yeah, and there's different tactics you can use. I mean, photo video is great.
Yeah.
We've used the Matterhorns before for the 3D videos. We have some drones that we sometimes use. So the presentation of the property is one thing, but also there's some proactive selling that needs to be considered as well. I'll call other agents if I have a new listing, and there's other agents I've worked with closely, or perhaps I took a buyer through a house that was a similar property. I'll call them. That there's a proactiveness in seeking out people who might be interested and putting it on their radar.
Yeah, definitely true. Definitely being proactive, that'll help you stand out, right, and get the deal done.
Yeah.
Last question here. What has been a challenging deal that you've gone through, and how did you resolve that?
I can share very loosely one that did not get resolved, but that was a very challenging and very relevant deal. We put in 52 units into escrow all at once, all off market in April, and it was quite a portfolio. We were very proud of it. I was representing the buyer at this time, and a deal like that all at once, 5 or 6 separate buildings, that many units, there's an immense amount of research, work, cooperating with other teams, the lenders, all sorts of things that even get you to the point where you're close to close. Fire insurance came up right at the end. We had a model built upon fire insurance that was currently in place. It's disclosed that it's going up, but it was a very big challenge. And the difference between what the current owner and the new buyer were paying in fire insurance was massive. The challenge for me was we were so close to closing, and this now came up as an issue. I was surprised that lending didn't catch it. I was surprised that I didn't catch it. I was surprised that we had not had a conversation about this until this point. Every time I'd asked, it was, on its way or coming, or they're working on it. So without going into too much detail, the overall gist of it was fire insurance has been a huge challenge up here. And this was before we had the Caldor fire. So this was even before that. And it didn't get resolved really, because it's not getting any easier to get fire insurance on these properties. Going forward, the lesson I really took away from that is stay in touch with your insurance agents, both as a consumer, a seller, a buyer. Be on top of that. If you can't get something locked in, shop around for it. I learned a couple things on the way. I mean, California Fair Plan is not necessarily cheap insurance, but you can rewrite that policy in a couple months. So although I tried to do this, it just didn't end up working out, which happens with deals sometimes. Going forward, I would be a little bit more fluid with how we think about insurance. Whatever you get at time of close doesn't necessarily mean that's what it needs to be. It can be reshopped. You can check out other vendors. You can renegotiate it in 5 months and 6 months, twice a year if you wanted to. So really taking that away and figuring out, okay, how can we hold these conversations with buyers and sellers beforehand, so that when this comes up, if that number scares them, there's a strategy in place for it. And boy, after that happened, did we get shown the dangers of fire when we had it in our backyard. So it was kind of an interesting lesson to learn and then get proven later down the road.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, things are definitely tough up there, right? With it being such a dry season now with the fires. Can't imagine how hard it is right now to try to get fire insurance on places up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of agents working really, insurance agents working really hard to
Yeah.
make things happen.
Wow.
So
Well, hopefully somebody will figure it out and
yeah,
make it easy for you guys. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing what you know and your experience there in Tahoe. As we close out today, want to ask what would be the best way for people to get a hold of you?
you know, you can mail for me. And Instagram's I treat Instagram's very loose, so I really like that. It's a combination of it's probably a third business, a third Tahoe, and a third just me being me.
Yeah.
And that's Ryan_Tahoe.
Okay.
So check me out on Instagram. Send me a DM. I always love connecting with people. I'm happy to be a resource for anybody, buyer, seller, agent, anything like that. And of course, we always love any partners we have that exchange referrals. There's all sorts of things coming up from Sacramento, and if anybody just needs to talk with somebody local and get some insight, I'm happy to share that.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll put your contact information in the show notes. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for being on the show today and take care.
Thank you, Martin. Thanks for having me.